whenever you are in doubt of the value you bring to the table, just look down and remember that these fingerprints are evidence that you have something to do, something only you can do. And when you do that thing, you are successful in it. When you begin to know who you are and the world from which you come from, that is the key to your world. This is where you're supposed to shout, right? She didn't. And that for me just gave me a reason to want to do more and better for her. Because I didn't feel the pressure to perform. And what she showed me, she said, I will take you as you are and we'll work with what you have.
Hashtag good people serve people.
Exactly. You see, so everything is intentional. Good people serve people, right? Yeah.
Welcome to Scholastica, a podcast broadcasting live from ZITF. On our previous episode, I had Thando Nkomo, who is the Marketing and Corporate Communications Manager, and we had a Scholastica overview. Today, we continue the conversation, still rooted in heritage-based education and innovation. And my guest is an award-winning entrepreneur. He's a speaker. He's a certified marriage coach. He's a finance coach, and so much more because his portfolio is very broad. Welcome, Mr. Terrence Mugova.
Okay, so first, don't call me Mr. Terrence is cool. Thank you so much for having me on the show, and really excited about this conversation, and more importantly, excited about sitting next to you because I'm a big fan of your work. Yeah.
We're fans of each other. Yeah. It's so cool to have you here. I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah. So, just to get the conversation going, I want to know who Terrence was as a student.
Oh Lord, here we go. So how far do I go back?
Go deep. It's fine.
Okay, I shouldn't have asked that because now I have to tell the truth. So I struggled as a student. I think I went to, if I'm being honest, at least 4 primary schools. And I struggled to sort of settle in. I think finally when I did, it was a mix of bullying and just struggling to sort of keep up to speed with the way the teachers taught. And that really ended up resulting in me having to do extra lessons just to be able to get through grade 7. So I think I always sort of had a different way of learning that wasn't particularly the way stuff was taught. And I always found that when I asked more questions, I got to understand things, but I never understood them the way they were taught. But I always sort of found a way to make it make sense. And when I understood that about myself, and big shout out to my primary school extra lessons teacher. I think his name is Mr. Chikwabira. I still remember his name. And that's important because I forget stuff that from last week. I remember this guy's name from primary school because that's how valuable it was, like to my journey. Because he really looked at me and didn't teach me the way he taught everyone else. He taught me. He understood how I understood things and so he saw, okay, if I talk here, if we do a bit of play, if I allow the guy to ask 1,000,001 questions, he grows. And that's sort of been my journey. Same thing with high school is struggle when I'm doing teacher-student, I struggled. When I asked other students, I thrived. So the guys, I did well at O-level and A-level. Because I had a lot more help from other students than I got from my teachers. So that's been my story. Like I learned from asking questions and learned from learning from those who do it very well. Yeah, so that's been that was my journey, yeah. 4 primary schools.
4 primary. And what was varsity like?
Varsity was different.
Yeah.
So primary school I was on the slow side. High school also sort of catching up, average. I think I averaged out high school. And then A-level, like I was sort of amongst the first in our family to actually get like 5 O-levels. I'm the firstborn, and then so when I'm saying first in my family, I'm looking at like just my dad's extent, his brothers and his kids. And I think I got them it was A's and B's, and I was shocked. But like I said, when I realized I'm going to a major exam, I spent a lot of time. So I prepared for my O-levels by getting help from Form 5 students in the subjects I struggled in. And they were so good at teaching me that I ended up getting A's and B's, like 5 A's, like almost even Steven. And my mom was shocked. because she was like, I know this guy. I mean, my aunt verified it because when she heard my results, she's like, what happened to you? You were like so dumb. Like, in like Shona. So Shona is like worse. Like it really hits you like, what happened to you? You're like the dumb guy. What's right? But what I noticed is that when seeing that in my mom, because she was not expecting much, and not in a bad way, but she just sort of felt like, look, you know, it's not a stage she had gone through, so we'd figure out. So one of the things I did is I tricked her and showed up really home really late with my results, and I was like, you know what, nothing came out, and she was chilled. She was like, you know what, it's fine. So what do you want to do? You want to go back? Do you want to do something? I'm like, dude, no, this is where you're supposed to shout, right? She didn't. And that for me just gave me a reason to want to do more and better for her. Because I didn't feel the pressure to perform. And what she showed me, she said, I will take you as you are and we'll work with what you have. So that affected my mindset getting into A-level. Like I now had a reason to do well that was beyond just getting good grades. I wanted to sort of give her more things to celebrate about and new first. So when I went to university, I came from, you know, average high school kid to actually being confused with a genius. Yeah, I'm like confused because like I know me, I'm not a genius, but I was confused with one because I finally had figured out how to learn stuff in a way that allowed me to answer questions and do well in exams. So I'd get like 100% in maths exams, and I was in South Africa as well. So the first year is like a repeat of A-level. So it was a really good confidence booster. So I think in just that year, ended up in Golden Key, which is like a society you join based on academic excellence. Ended up getting a couple of fees rebates. And that just started a journey, an amazing journey of just belief in myself. And this mission to get this degree so that I could then give my mom one more thing that she could celebrate about and feel like, yo, you know what? At least my kids are getting and doing better than I did. Yeah, so that was me in college. I'm mistaken for a genius. If you meet guys in college, they may actually think I'm this special genius, but I know me. I ain't that deep. I ain't that deep. Yeah.
No, but you're touching on something that's really critical because I think a lot of kids feel that way in school. They feel dumb and maybe perhaps for the rest of their lives they feel dumb because like perhaps there's a rigid school system of learning, and what do you think needs to be changed when it comes to that?
So I think the school system that I grew up with, and I think it's pretty much the same now, is that genius and excellence was always measured more often in the classroom and based on how well you did in a test, right? And the world we live in doesn't measure performance that way or excellence that way, in all honesty. And the downside with that route is just it's one way. And there are multiple ways that we learn, there are multiple ways that we express ourselves, and our genius comes out. And some of the gifts are not academic. But the system didn't allow that. Like I went to a mission school, so even sporting gifting was not really valued without the academic backing, right? So I think that's why I often thought that there's nothing special about it. There was nothing special about me academically. And I think that's an aspect of our education system that needs changing, because more and more it's less to do with your ability to bring back answers to stuff you've written, and more important to ask questions that expose better answers. So I think when I look at the education system, I think one of the things we need to get to is begin to focus more on identifying the individual people in the classroom. And I think one of my strengths, we do a lot of personality assessments at our company. And I've found that I'm a teacher. And one thing about being a good teacher is you individualize. So that means you understand that people can be messy, how they grow can be messy, but you find what works for them, right? And I think in teaching, they've introduced different ways of putting across a concept. Some people just say it and they understand it. Some people need pictures, some people need video, some people need audios, but the different ways of learning. And I think school is sort of incorporating that now, where, you know, some of us go to the University of YouTube when we need to figure out an assignment. I think some of us are leveraging AI. And I think the more our education systems embrace the different ways of learning, the more value we're gonna get. And I definitely think the focus needs to shift from how well a student does at a test to how well have we identified what's special about them, and can we push them into areas where they're exceptional? Because I think when we do that, no one's a failure. because you are doing you. That's sort of my 2 cents. Yeah.
That's amazing. So when you visualize a futuristic classroom in Zimbabwe, what do you see?
Interesting. That's actually a hard question, yeah. but I think everywhere is a classroom, right? I look at a place where stuff that is now, like, there's stuff like career guidance that's almost a benefit for a select few. I think when we were growing up, it felt like a thing private schools enjoyed. It's something that's available for everyone. And the conversations start early, right? I'm looking at classrooms where we are keeping records of where we see students shining, and sort of looking and saying, okay, they speak very well. What are some of the tracks we can begin to work with them to improve on that? I see classrooms where we assess our kids, we assess their personalities. We do strengths-based assessment so we can understand right from the beginning what comes natural to this particular student. And then we build tracks on how we can multiply the value of what comes natural. So I think it's more individual focused and multiple tracks of learning. So that means there may be certain schools that are academic, there may be certain schools that are more focused on the sporting prowess, there may be certain schools that are more focused on gifting of the hands, but it's not all, everyone has to have an O-level, everyone has to have an A-level certificate. It's let's get people where they're most useful. Yeah.
Okay.
So no exams.
No exams.
Yeah, no public exams. I lie. Maybe some, but not for everyone.
Yeah. Okay. So what role do you think cultural heritage has within this context?
Culture and heritage. Okay. So I think culture and heritage have an important role to play, because you can never really get to where you're going successfully if you don't know where you've been. So I think as an entrepreneur, one of the things I've learned is one of the most valuable subjects is history. It's history. Like everything we do, every record we keep is like a key for the next person who's coming, because it allows them to leverage past knowledge and hopefully learn from your mistakes and build on that. So I think culture and heritage play that part, right? And when I look at culture, for example, it's a series of principles, practices, processes that a group of people agree to and abide by. And you see this by how they live their lives. And a key aspect around culture is the language, right? So if you ever wanted to know what was important to a group of people, you listen to the words they use and what they say. And the more empowering the words they use and the things they say, the more empowering that culture is, right? So if I give you an example, and like I love talking about money because I think it plays such an integral part in people's lives. You look at the Industrial Revolution. There's a school of thought that believes that the Industrial Revolution was championed by Britain because of language, right? And language, particularly in the area of, there are cultures that believe you can win money, and there are cultures that believe you can earn money, right? And all of those are ways people make money, right? And you find that, at least in English, there's a separate word for winning money and there's a separate word for earning money, right? If you look at the Spanish and the French, the word for winning money and the word for working to earn the money is the same thing. And already, that presents a problem, because it's saying, I can win it or I can earn it, it's the same thing. But we all know winning something, there's a cap. There's always the price is capped. Earning has no limitation. So there's a belief that says Britain led the charge because they were motivated by the infinite possibilities of earning more money. So that's what made them really driven to take this industrial revolution to the world. And that speaks the same to our cultures, right? That what we speak about and the stories we repeat to each other and the things we celebrate literally create the life we live. So if we begin to build, for example, in Zimbabwe, stories and celebrate our cultures for what they are, right? And not the disturbance. Because I think sometimes when we look at our culture and where we're coming from, we often focus on the negative bits, right? And we find it as if it's irrelevant. But imagine if we started telling the story, for example, of Great Zimbabwe a bit differently. And looked at it and said, have you been to Great Zimbabwe before? You have been, yeah. I went, not yet. Yeah, have you been? No. Yeah, like I went there, like you should go. I went there and there's still stuff to see today. And very often we're like, oh yeah, there's Great Zimbabwe, but what if the cultural story, what if the words we said is, we built things, and it was built around the 13th century, thereabout? So it's been around for thousands of years. So what if I started telling myself, I come from ancestors that built things that last for thousands of years? And that was before universities came on, right? So for those of us who think Cambridge is the be and end all, there was no Cambridge when Great Zimbabwe was being built. There are houses in Bulawayo that are falling apart, and they're not even 10 years old. Yeah. But we come from, can you imagine? That's who you come from, right? And what does that, if you embrace that story of you, can you imagine you getting into a challenge, or if you're getting into a space? You don't come in and you're not timid. Because you're saying, look, where I come from, we built things before universities are around, and those things are still around today, right? If you look at the African story, even our mining and our metal processing, we came up with processes that were more efficient than what people were doing in Europe. So I think that's the importance of culture and history, and telling history the right way, because it allows people to walk in their dominance, to walk in their strengths, as opposed to hide in the shadows, because you're thinking, I am nothing. And I think that's where I see heritage playing. It should be what gives us a sense of being and a sense of relevance and comfort in our own skin. And the value of being comfortable in your own skin is that now, more than in any period in time, who you are is critical to your success. Your identity has become the center stage for your prosperity. So that comfort means that you know who you are. You don't feel like you have to convince someone on who you are. And that allows you to do the things that only you can do and have the things that only you can have. So this is the role that culture has to play. And we have to be very careful how we leverage these stories. So that means, I know we've got problems, but can we become more solution or more value focused than problem focused in some of these aspects? Because that's how we're going to come out. That's how we're going to build something that's going to transform the way people look at Zimbabweans, look at Africans, and just look at each and every one of us, right, as we go about doing what we're supposed to do. Yeah.
You touch on so many powerful things, and what I'm getting from all this is that if you don't know where you come from, you can never be fully aware of who you are and what you are capable of doing. So, wow, I hope you guys are learning as much as I am. So like, how can we change young people's minds from being, I don't know, like employee style to more of problem solvers?
So I think we empower the expectations. We get one aspect that we haven't included in the classroom yet, and this is not even just a Zimbabwean thing. This is probably most of the world's kind of thing. Some countries have begun to incorporate it, is bringing money into the classroom. Because me and you will agree that there's I can be a doctor, teacher, all these things. School's been great at teaching me how to be in a particular profession, but it hasn't taught me how to manage the money that comes from my profession. Do you know what I'm saying? So we live in a world where you provide a skill, and in return for your skill, the objective measure of how valuable you are is the money they're willing to give you. But we're not teaching folks how to make that money, how to position themselves to make as much of that money as possible, how to use that money in a way. So we haven't taught people what money really is, how to count it, how to make it, and how to multiply it. Are we together? And that's something that I started picking up other cultures have incorporated. Jewish people, they're the GOAT at that. But let me share with you, and I think we were speaking before this, about an experience I had. I spent some time working in America as a hotel management intern. Very fancy for waiter and anything that people needed done in a resort, but hotel management interns, like, makes it feel like that. And I was fascinated that I was in my 20s then. But the majority of people, especially in the dining room that I worked with, were 16, 17, going on to 18. They were working with me, right? And at 16, some of these were talking about, oh yeah, I'm putting aside savings, I'm putting aside everything I'm earning so that I can buy my first car, right? Oh, I'm putting aside everything because I've got this idea that I wanted to then go and do. And I'm like, Mara, how did you get here? Because I'm in my 20s and I'm feeling like I'm I'm doing the things in my 20s because I'm earning money in this program. Then I realized that it's the cultural conversation, right? It's the conversations they grow up hearing from their parents, right? Yes, it's work, or the American dream is available for everyone. They've coined a dream, right? And they've made the dream so beautiful that everyone aspires to get to it, right? And some of it is sometimes, I just want to be able to own a car. I want to be able to, when I get to the driving age, I'm driving my own car. And parents have put into their students, into their children, that you need to earn your own money, right? Because I think that's how it's a consumer-driven economy. If you want something, you have to pay for it. Therefore, they start figuring out very early, I need to start providing some sort of value people are willing to pay for. And for me, that's where culture comes in. We change the collective mindset by showing people a way that works. Because you see, your parents tell you, you need to go and work, and when you work, they'll pay you, and you'll be able to buy a car. If you actually go and work, earn the money, and buy the car, bada bing, bada boom, it's working, right? So we need to show folks stuff that works. So when I look at young folks, we need to get to a point where the stuff we are teaching is easy for them to see it working and working well. Because if we continue teaching theoretic concepts that are not being practiced out there, it's not going to be of value to them. So what am I saying? I'm saying we need to start having conversations around money a lot sooner with students, and position money as something that's very good and something that you get from serving other people. And that there is no age restriction to when you can begin to add value to other people. And this is why I like saying, I said now more than ever, your identity and who you are, having what is special about you is finally a key ingredient to your success. Before, when we were Industrial Revolution, Agricultural Revolution, you needed to have certain assets. You needed to have land, you needed to have capital, you needed to have property. So they disqualified you. So if you didn't come from wealth, it was very difficult back then to sort of find yourself in that space. Now, we are in the era of digital assets, and it's got everything to do what's in your mind, who you are, and your willingness to express yourself. So I know there are people who feel like, I'm at 2K, they don't like to work. I disagree. They don't like working on what doesn't work. So when they are on TikTok, or when they are creating a YouTube channel or content, and that creates views, and those views can be monetized, that works. And we must be willing to appreciate that the world of work is changing. And because the personal brand is what's on trend now, and probably will be on trend for years to come. So I think for a lot of our conversations is have that money conversation, put a premium on helping people find their true identity and how they can monetize their identity. Because it's always easier to grow from where you already have advantages. So I think that's where we are. So we may, and the beautiful thing about the digital revolution and digital assets is it's not difficult or expensive to get people growing in that area. Like before, you'd say, like I remember when we were starting a business, the bank would ask me, do you have a property so that we can give you money? You get what I'm saying? So that meant if I didn't have a property, I couldn't get access to the money to grow the business, right? So it was a very restrictive sort of space. Now, you find that in the digital economy, if I have a good social media presence, and I'm great at creating a big enough community of people who listen to me and trust what I say, I can pitch the same idea that I needed money for. And now I don't necessarily have to wait for the bank for property or anything. With a good message, I can attract the investment I want to me. And sometimes at no cost, right? Or without the physical property requirement. Sometimes you can get so good at telling your stories and pitching your bright ideas that just the platforms themselves can begin to pay you, and the money you needed comes from a totally different source altogether. So what is special about us can actually be turned into assets that create income for us together. You being known, liked, and trusted can actually make money for you. Very different to what we grew up with, or what some of us grew up with.
Is that what they call social capital?
Yeah, it's social capital, right? And more particularly parasocial relationships. Build your ability to build parasocial relationships. And that is, can you create messages that move the masses? right? So create messages that create a connection with people, that they want to keep engaged with you. And from creating those messages, you will begin to identify what that people group or what that segment appreciates, desires, and requires. And that can allow you to either begin to build businesses that actually create products and services that matter, or put in front of your audience products and services that they need, and you get paid for that. And that's a totally different ball game to what we learned. And like, as you can hear, no degree is required so far, right? But it's that's sort of like the different way of looking at things. And I think as a young person growing up now, we must understand that we have so many advantages working for us, but they won't show up to our doorstep. We have to come out to play as our authentic selves, with the heart to serve. That's the important thing. The way you grow yourself, the way you're going to make an impact in the world we're in today, it has to be about other people more than it is about you. That's because otherwise, if you come up and all you're thinking about is yourself, people can pick up on selfishness, and we don't vibe with selfish tendencies. And yeah, I think I'll stop it there, yeah.
Hashtag good people serve people.
Exactly. You see, so everything is intentional. Good people serve people, right? Yeah. So that means good people serve people if they want to become wealthy people.
I
like that.
You speak on identity a lot. Can you just give me a brief definition of what identity is to you?
So for me, identity is the things about me that make me valuable to others. Right? So the aspect of, and I'm a believer, so if you don't mind, I'll share from a believer's perspective, and hopefully we can be a bit more accommodating to those who are not. But I believe my identity represents the aspect of God's creativity that was given to me specifically, right? Because I believe that when he was creating us, one of the things he tells us about himself, firstly, is I am creative, and then later on says, let me create you in my image. So he's given me an aspect of his creativity that allows me to be fruitful, multiply, replenish, which means he's given me an aspect that when I'm being who I am able to recreate or to produce stuff for other people that is valuable to them, right? So that I can have an existence that I appreciate. So if I were to put it in a non-faith-based perspective, I think my identity is the things about me that are unique to me that could be turned into value for me and for the people who are around me. I think that's how I put identity.
When you speak like this, I see like fingerprint vibes, you see. Only I can access what I put my fingerprint on.
The aspect of twins, like if you know, when we talk about fingerprints, when you look at twins, and identical twins to that fact, they may even be more identical than the loaves of bread we eat. But when you look at them as identical as they are, when you look at their fingerprints are different. And you could almost say that the fingerprints can be looked at as soul prints. That is the clear physical evidence that you are unique, that there's no one on this planet, on this earth, that is like you. Which means that you have a unique assignment that you've been called to deliver on this planet. And only you can deliver it. Regardless of how other people may look like you, you have something that only you can do. And you know, when you bring that up, it then also reminds me to say that if ever I, or maybe whoever's listening to this or watching this, whenever you are in doubt of the value you bring to the table, just look down and remember that these fingerprints are evidence that you have something to do, something only you can do. And when you do that thing, you are successful in it. So it's almost a guarantee that you were created to be successful. Thank you for bringing that up.
American rhetoric would say knowledge of self is knowledge of wealth. You know what I'm
saying? I like that. Knowledge of self is knowledge of wealth. Yeah. Because when you know yourself, and interesting enough, you mentioned Americans, there's this really cool chap who spoke about an unpopular topic, but worth talking about. And he says, one of the things during the slave trade that masters were fine with people having was, they were fine if you were strong and could, work for long hours. That meant they could get more produce into the ground and improve their harvest, right? And contrary to popular belief, some of them were fine with you being able to read, right? Because that could even mean at some level they could give you instructions that you could then deliver. So you could become an unpaid supervisor on the farm, right? But you know, the one thing that they were not comfortable with you knowing was a history of self. They were not comfortable with you knowing that you are from a country where you are a prince. You are from a country where you are royalty. Because here's the thing. When you know who you are and are comfortable in who you are, no one can tell you different. When they tell you you are useless, you say, nope, I'm not. Because I know myself and I know where I come from. So you're so right. When you begin to know who you are and the world from which you come from, that is the key to your world. Really cool saying.
It just popped in my head. I was like, hey. Yeah, so this is a quick fire round, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so first one is 3 do's for young people.
Okay. Be you. Do what only you can do. And always be teachable.
No comments there, but that's beautiful. Okay, 3 don'ts in life.
3 don'ts. 1, don't ever think of yourself as an expert. 2, don't ever judge people based on how you think they look. And 3, don't ever look at yourself as worthless. And let me add the 4th one. Whenever you're using the word I am, never say anything negative about yourself. Because whenever you say I am, anything that follows I am, you infuse the power of eternity into it. So be mindful of what comes after I am.
In Hebrew, there is a specific word for I am, which says I will be. It actually means I will be. So I'm very careful to say I'm this.
So I am broke, I am ugly, I am useless. You are infusing the power of eternity into something negative.
Okay.
Right.
One lesson you learned from failure.
It's not failure if you don't quit. And I choose to look at it more as learning. I'm learning what doesn't work. And if I allow myself to be honest with myself, I can use my knowledge of what doesn't work to finally get to what will work. So it's a process.
I love that. What subject should be taught in schools?
History, all day long. History all day long. Okay. History with a big focus on building, on accentuating or elevating the culture of the people. So if it's Zimbabwe, Zimbabwean history, with a focus on where we got it right and what we uniquely bring to the table as Zimbabweans, as depicted by history. And history, in my view, is absolutely incredible because every day that goes by is history being made. And everything that we are able to document, we can present to others for them to use and hopefully not make the same mistakes we made or understand the consequences of the mistakes they're about to make.
Please finish this sentence for me. My hope for Zimbabwean youth is?
My hope for Zimbabwean youth is that we may finally get in touch with who we are and get to a point where we understand that there is so much value in us, that we have different aspects of creativity, that when we lean into them, we can create a reality so much bigger and better than what we have in front of us. And when we do the things that we were uniquely called to do, we can have the outcomes that we are dreaming of today, and probably even more. So when I think of our people, I see a beautiful people waiting to be unleashed. And the way we unleash ourselves is we just believe. It's already there.
Wow. What an eye-opening episode. What an eye-opening discussion. I wish it was longer. However, let me open the space for you to give any last piece of advice or words of encouragement to the viewers. What last words do you have?
So gratitude, number one, just grateful to be on this platform and grateful for what this platform represents. And that is a way of creating relationships around a critical conversation called education and how we leverage the wealth of wisdom and knowledge and human potential in our schools and in our education system. So really grateful for that. And I really want to encourage anyone who's watching this to understand that school is a tool. Use this tool to build your mastery. Use this tool to lean in and get the most of what makes you exceptional. And in that process, build as many relationships as you can. Because relationships will open so many more doors for you than money ever could. So yeah, those are my 2 cents. And just like I said, thank you for this opportunity. It was just a plum-pleasing pleasure to be on this podcast with you.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your energy, which was beautiful.
PE.
PE, hashtag PE, yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in. I am Nkosi Khumalo and this is Scholastica. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share and keep the conversation going. From me today, from us today, it's goodbye. See you in the next episode. Bye.